All right, this morning we're going to take you all the way to Newfoundland, to an isolated cove on the northern coastline, and a book so vivid you can almost feel the wind whipping across the pages. It is a survival story of two siblings orphaned in a rugged and unforgiving landscape with almost no help from the outside world. It is written by an author who knows a thing or two about the rock. Michael Crummey lives in St. John's, but he's here in our studio this morning. Great to have you here.
Great to be here.
Congratulations on the new book.
Thank you.
The newest and the greatest. We started off by talking about the landscape. It really is another character in this story.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think there's any way to write a story set in Newfoundland that doesn't somehow include the place itself, because it is a wild place still, and particularly in the time that this book is set in, which is the
1700s.
late 1700s. It could kill you, that place, if you if you didn't know what you were doing. So of course the weather and the sea and the landscape are front and center all the way through this book. Yeah.
And these two children who are left isolated, a brother and a sister, not only have to figure life out for themselves, they have to survive these elements and figure out how to use them to survive.
Yeah, and I mean, they were 9 and 11 when the book starts, right? And they have worked their entire lives. You know, and I, in a way, I was thinking of my own father, who he started fishing with his father when he was 9.
Wow.
Although he says he didn't take on a full share of the crew till he was 11.
Wow. Okay.
Right?
Wow.
So I thought of these kids left alone. It seems unbelievable that they could survive, but of course they would have been working from the time they were old enough to walk. So it was about them trying to figure out how to do it on their own.
9 and 11. The book has been described as Hansel and Gretel meets Flowers in the Attic. How does that sit with you?
Well, I haven't read Flowers in the Attic, so I'm not really sure what to say about it. But the seed for the book was a true story. And it was about a clergyman who had come across an orphan brother and sister in Newfoundland, and the sister was pregnant. And the clergyman assumed, probably quite rightly, that the brother was the father. And that story, I came across that 10 or 11 years ago, but it never left me.
This was in research that you were doing. And it stayed with you.
I was looking for something else, and I just happened on this. And I wanted nothing to do with it, to be honest.
How do you write that story?
How do you write that story? And I pushed it away for years, but finally, I guess it's a book about childhood. And I was thinking about my own childhood and how confusing it is to move through childhood into adolescence towards adulthood, even when you have resources, even when you have supportive parents, when you have a sex education class at school. All of that stuff is appallingly confusing. And I just wanted to get inside the heads of these children who were trying to figure that out with no one to turn to and no one to talk to about what was happening to them.
The book really focuses on themes of loss and survival, and this happens to them multiple times, the loss of their family, the survival of the two of them.
Yeah.
Why choose this focus?
Because that's the story that I found, I think. And part of the reason I think that story was so compelling to me is because loss is what my subject has always been. And I think that comes partly from growing up in a mining town that was dying. 5 minutes from Red Indian Lake, which was the last bastion of the Beothuk, who disappeared from the world about 200 years ago. And the Newfoundland story in the last 50 years has been about the loss of the outport way of life in some ways. So this was right in my wheelhouse, I guess, in terms of two characters who, from the outset, had to make their way in the world with loss as the thing at the center.
Michael, why was this the right time and this the right book to pick up that story that you had originally seen as a true story and put it away and said, I don't want to write it? Why did you choose to write it now?
Partly because I was way past a deadline, and my editor had called me up and said, what are you thinking about? And this was the only story. I had written the opening, 3 or 4 pages, about 3 years ago, and just put it away again. And when Martha called me, I thought, well, I'll send you these pages and you tell me what you think. And when she called, she said, I want to know more about those kids. So at that point, I just said, I'm going to do it. And I sat down and I wrote every day for about 3.5 months. I've never done that before, like every day of the week. And it felt like it was all there. and I just wanted it out of me. So that's what I did.
I love the story behind the actual story. Michael, thank you so much for being here today.
My pleasure. Thanks for
A
having me.
reminder to you, it's 11 years in the making, this story. The book is called The Innocents. Thanks for watching. If you like this, be sure to subscribe here.
And you can check out more Your Morning videos right here.